Okay, now, our next session in here, the final session before lunch, is very exciting. It's all about a campaign that's been taking place with PepsiCo, with Gatorade, and it's going to be the biggest session we've had in terms of speakers. And excitingly, the compere is actually a professional commentator, which gets me excited. It is our ESPN commentator, Fernando, Palomo, who is going to introduce the rest of the panel while we just bring in the other 4 chairs, because it is going to be the biggest panel we've had so far. So let's have a warm round of applause for Fernando. Okay.
Being a big competitor, I'm going to try to out-talk the guy next door.
Beautiful. That's what I try to do all day.
Do it naturally, or if you guys are going to help me out with this one over here. But you guys hear me okay, right? Well, I'm Fernando Palomo. I'm from ESPN, and we're here to present one of the things that has caught our attention over the past couple of months. I've only been involved in it for very few times. I mean, very little time of its existence. But I got to tell you that this is one of the great examples of how you bring a brand and you tie it into multiple age groups in multiple regions using one vehicle, right? So I guess they understand that they need to lower their voice over there. I hear that they're talking softer on the other side. So how do you do it? How do you bring a brand and overlap different ages and overlap different regions using one tool that puts it all together? So you guys kind of know where we're going to, right? I call soccer games for ESPN. We are at the sports area of the festival. So they do this using one vehicle that has worked great in many different areas, and marketing and commercial areas is one of them, and it's sports. And they use soccer to unite their message and put their brand across through not only Latin America, but some areas of the world as well. So to introduce the team that makes this happen, we're going to have the team's coach, Jill Leccia. She's the marketing director of Gatorade for Latin America. She's going to guide us through who's coming. Debra Pogorelsky, consumer engagement for PepsiCo. Guillermo Florez, CEO or account director for R&D. Jim Garofalo from AKTG, Ayala from ESPN, Jayson Fittipaldi, founder of Nobox. And there you are, Frederico Grinberg, I got you, man. CEO of Futbol sites, yes. Right back, Guillermo playing on the left back, the one that's coaching them all, and Jayson Fittipaldi, that makes sense as well. Have you ever got a speeding ticket?
They never catch me.
So then you are related. So Jill, 5v5. I'm telling you, when I started learning about it and how it becomes such a big thing throughout Latin America, throughout Latin Americans' youth, now after 3 years of putting it together, maybe 5 since the idea came about. What is it? How did it all happen?
Yeah, so, sorry, do you hear me? Yeah. Gatorade 5v5 is a football tournament we put together. We started about 2 years ago, actually. 2015. We're going to our 3rd edition now. It's a tournament for young footballers, 14, 16 years old, in which we've been trying to reach them in meaningful ways. It started in Latin America about, as I said, 2 years ago, with 6 teams participating from different countries. And it really started as a way to connect with these young teens. They are basically, when you think about the audience, you think about sport, you think about athletes, the main sport comes to mind is football, and that's who we own. As a brand, is a way to connect with them. We started a tournament at a local level with having each teams participating in each of the countries and crowning a local champion that then we took to a very high world-class soccer experience. 2 years ago, we went to Milan at the end of the day with 6 champions going there and having this experience in which they went into a global final tournament. They experienced not only the fact that they were out there playing what they love to do, but they were able to connect with meaningful names. We had Hernan Crespo back then, and we went through in the time of the UEFA Champions League final, in which those 6 teams were actually able to compete for going to see the finals of UEFA Champions League.
They were able to attend. The winner gets a ticket to go into the real final.
They did. So it got pretty competitive, very heated, lots of emotion. But it started, again, 2 years ago, and this year it grows significantly. We realized how important it was to connect with these teams in such a unique way, in a face-to-face, and really being able to touch them and to be able to attain a dream of theirs, and really connecting with their brand as we're fueling not just their bodies, but also their minds doing this. This year we went from 6 teams to 15 countries. And we actually incorporated it became from a regional platform, it became a global platform. We had North America, also teams from Europe participating in London this year. We took them during the same weeks of the UEFA Champions League finals. We had a global tournament out there, and we took them to the UEFA Champions League festival, where they were able to play at the pitch there and really enjoy and see what the world professionals actually could experience.
So you guys experienced this in Milan with Hernan Crespo. Who did you have this time around?
We have actually Thierry Henry, and we had Pires as well with us.
And this all happened in London before the Champions League final in Cardiff.
Right. We took them to Cardiff afterwards, and they expand again. They were again competing for who was going to go and watch the game live back then. So.
I knew all this. I met them in Cardiff, but you guys didn't know, so I figured I'd ask the questions, right? But it was a fun experience. I mean, how many teams were there all together? I know the nations that participated expanded, but overall, how many teams make up what?
This has become one of the largest tournaments with youth in Latin America. We had over 3,000 teams participating this year. We touched over 20,000 kids in our region, competing and really feeling and seeing the sport in real life, right? And really touching it in a way that we've never done before.
How do you go about mixing together all the elements that bring this to real life? I mean, in the end, the kids are living a dream, but how do you put it together from the get-go?
Yeah, that's right. Well, for those who have been here all morning, you've been talking about mobile, we've been talking about content, so the first thing is definitely touching them, face to face, right? But then how do we actually extrapolate this? How do we amplify this? It was key for us to work with, a lot of the partners that you see here sitting today. And in fact, Nobox was one of our partners working through the content piece of this, so that we were able to reach them in the mobile first environment. If we don't talk content, if we are not mobile, if we're not there where they're actually interacting, we don't get to that. So Jayson, you can speak more towards.
Sure. So talking about the content side, I think it was really important for us to obviously leverage the direct connection with social and soccer as a theme. But we know that only takes you so far. It's a very crowded space. What we thought would be a really good idea is to touch on the idea that a lot of these young footballers who participated in the tournament themselves are really an example for other footballers out there, and young kids. So by grabbing this amazing enthusiasm that these young kids have in participating, they could see themselves in the same opportunity to be able to, one day reach that level of success, to be able to one day, to be treated like a true pro. So a lot of the content that we created was grabbing what are these very young players who take their sport very seriously and being able to connect it in a way that made them feel like true pros. And then, of course, the audience really embraced that idea, because it's not just about seeing the youth in their country really do well, but it was also about being able to, promote your own country. This is an opportunity to see the youth in your country compete at a global scale.
And in this sense, I saw this in Cardiff, when you get the feeling that they're not representing a team of 5 or 7 players that got together and started playing through the ranks of the tournament locally. When you see them laying on the ground in Cardiff and at the Champions League festival, it's like, this is the national team from Guatemala, for example. Or this is a team from Panama and the team from Colombia, and they get together and they exchange cultural activities in the same way. They spend a couple of days together in London, and they're able to expand on their experience by not only playing games, but also learning how to become youth of the world, basically.
Exactly, and as Jill said earlier, I mean, this wasn't just a transformation for them in the sense of being able to go towards a professional goal or a professional experience, but there was also, the learning from this, and being able to have it, the coaching that went into it. I think that for them, it was a pride factor for, representing their country, and these are kids, so, even the generation of content with them was supernatural. What they needed was just a little guidance, some ideas ahead, which obviously we planned for, and I think every year, that whole side of it evolves, and then being able to generate this content building up to the tournament, which was really important, and then of course real-time content there at the tournament, working again with this whole team of partners to get their home countries excited about what was happening in Cardiff this past year.
Now, we've talked about they coming from different countries, but how do you as a brand leverage all this? How do you find the local allies to expand on the experience? Debra, that's you then.
So from the region, our goal is to inspire the markets by showing them that they are part of something bigger. As you heard, they are part of a global activation that requires a lot of coordination, detail, but most importantly, a lot of passion. And a lot of passion. And each market has a different business reality, so it's important that they take the program and they make it their own. And we had to make sure that we follow the same strategy. So to do so, with the help of our partners here, we created a toolkit that includes things such as a creative guideline, a do's and don'ts, tone and voice. So they took the activation, they localized it, and they made it more relevant for the markets. And since communication is key, we established weekly calls where we shared updates and milestones. And finally, the reason that we are all here is because football awakens many, many passions. So at Gatorade, we like to keep it real and feel a little healthy competition. So we created a regional dashboard where we measured total campaign engagement on a local level. And we also leveraged technologies such as WhatsApp so that the markets could have some friendly messages and share the love for their jerseys and their countries.
Now, you make the experience memorable for the kids as well. There is Jim Garofalo, MAMKTG. How do you make this happen? How do you engage the kids into having an experience that's unique, not only about playing football games on the streets against on the fields against other teams competing to go and represent that particular country in the finals, but what else do you give them? And what makes Gatorade a brand so unique to give this experience to?
Well, for us as being curators of live for us being curators of a live experience like that, you have to make sure that the brand that you're working with is authentic to those youth athletes. And Gatorade is uniquely positioned to be that brand that's ubiquitous within sports, right? They see it across all ranges of sports, whether it be global football, the NBA, the NFL. They see it across all landscapes. And that adds a lens of credibility. They also are uniquely positioned to have that sports science and that training expertise as well. So when Gatorade puts on an event, these youth athletes will buy into that experience because of the authenticity that the brand creates. From our perspective, Debra mentioned a lot of it. Coordinating this across 14 different markets and having different scale of the tournament is quite challenging. So you have to make sure you have a playbook that they all can go off of and make sure that they're delivering on the key elements of this, whether it be a rules perspective, whether it makes sure branding and all those things are consistent. The other thing is you have to develop something here that makes it a true VIP experience for them. Gatorade is behind the scenes of some of the world's best clubs, and they had the ability to bring those pro aspects of this to these youth athletes. So one of the unique things for us here that we were able to execute is, as the Gatorade was launching this GX platform, which is a customized portfolio of product for each athlete, we were able to bring sports scientists to each of the markets and test these athletes so they had a specific sweat DNA that we were able to bring to life for them when they got to London. So you have to do things like that make it a unique and memorable experience for them. And then when they get to that experience, it's all about kind of making sure that they have all the elements tied together. We wanted them to experience London because sometimes some of the kids, this was the first time they'd left their country. So getting them and having an experience that they get to truly see the culture of where they're going, being able to see some iconic stadiums and athletes and things like that, and make sure that the football is best in class. And I think that was some of the things that we had to make sure we brought to life there for them.
It sounds great when you think of it. You put yourself back. I put myself back as a really bad soccer player back in my day, and I think of becoming a part of a team that gets to go through this experience. It's great for me, for the coach, for my teammates. But Guillermo, how do you guys put it all together and measure the success of what you guys are doing?
A key component for the success of 5v5 was actually creating a media and a communication strategy that would allow us to interact with the right audience at the right time and the right context. We leverage a lot on different data sources to really identify what were the motivators and the actual media consumption behaviors of the young athlete. Actually, we look into how we could engage with them through the different contact points that we were trying to achieve. And through that, we were really looking into which were those interest points and specific passions that we could engage and deploy our content with. It was fundamental to select the right partners, and to select the partners, we had 3 criteria. One was relevance. We needed to make sure that the partners were the right fit with our audience, and that actually the passion points of those teenagers were present in those platforms. The second one was reach. We know that this is a regional platform, so we needed to make sure that every content that we were deploying, our partners were able to do it so in every single market that we were doing the activity in. And last but not least, flexibility. We needed to be able to deploy the content in real time, to optimize it in the frequency that we were looking for, and actually bring innovation. We didn't want the same regular media placement that usually it's done in each of the markets. In terms of metrics, we developed a framework that allows us to measure the KPIs through all the tournaments, since the local level, in the different markets, knowing the number of teams and members that were participating, till the regional level. By the end, we engaged and reached over 27 million teenagers in the region. We surpassed every KPI and benchmark we had for previous campaign. And this was all thanks to a combination of an ecosystem that we created with the partners, the regional teams, the local teams, media orchestration that allow us to be in the right time, and the right content to engage with the audience. Here in the panel, we have ESPN and Futbol sites that can tell you a little bit more of how we brought to life using their platforms.
Thanks, Gia. For ESPN, our job was really, and our role was really to bring this event and give it the same type of quality, respect, and more than anything, production that we will give to any international event that has local football players and local teams inside of it. So that's basically our number one goal, give it the quality production that it deserves. With that, we basically covered 3 national champions. We covered Mexico, Argentina, Colombia. We were able to go through their entire experience at the local level with their national tournaments. We followed them as they went to London in the finals. We showed their rewarding experience at Cardiff, which was great. We actually got very lucky that we covered Colombia and that we were actually able to show the entire way through their entire ride to being the champion, which was something unique. Got lucky on that one. And then for us, I think one of the most rewarding things is, as they said, treating these kids like local heroes. They're local heroes, they're representing their nations. So as ESPN, we had to make sure that we provide that to them. We made sure that they came to our local studios. We celebrated them as the representatives of their nations. And then I think one of the coolest things is when you build the draw. Like we created a draw for these kids, for literally 12 teams, right? Like Latin America. We just built it just for them. And then it ends up being that we get 34,000 likes on Facebook for the piece, and it blows up. It shows that the social community, it shows their social circles, it shows that everybody really wanted to be a part of this. So I think that from our side, that was the rewarding part of it.
Well, first of all, proud and happy to be part of this dream team. For Futbol sites, it was a big challenge to be part of this campaign. First of all, because this content was related with kids, and our audiences in Facebook and in our websites are used to receive content from professional players and professional leagues. So we had to work hard with the local markets and with the regional team to make this content relevant for our audiences, finding specific key points in the local markets. It's not the same to speak with Argentinians or Brazilians about football, or people from Dominican Republic. So it was a hard work. Finally, we did it. We surpassed all the commitments, all the objectives we put at the start of the campaign. And also for us was a challenge, the production, because we produced videos in 12 countries in 15 days. Then we had the great chance to be part of the finals in London. For us, it was an unforgettable experience. Honestly, these kids were competing, but they were so mature. The fair play, the legacy of the 5v5 for these kids is going to be for all their lives. So the experience was great. Something we discovered, one of the most important learnings, was that the live streaming emissions had a huge reach. For example, the final between El Salvador and Colombia, we reached almost 1 million people during the live streaming and the 48 hours after the match. That was in the morning of a Saturday, 7 a.m. in Latin America, and thousands of people were connected to the Facebook Live, supporting their team. For the people from El Salvador, it was like the national team was playing, because
we don't have a national team that's worth anything. So
since El Mágico González, that this was the most important match for El Salvador. So thousands of people were supporting these guys. The same thing in Colombia. So I think this was a great campaign, an integrated campaign with a dream team. I think that Nobox, OMD, and Gatorade, they were looking for challenges, for innovation, for results. So we were happy and proud to be part of this. And I think that this tournament can still growing, a lot.
I'm telling you, we saw. I'm sorry, Jill.
No, I was just going to add there. If there's anything that we learned through this, is flexibility is key, right? I mean, we were in the middle of London, and Federico approaches me, and he's like, people, they want to see the match live. They were asking for it. So he was actually monitoring live what was going on in the feeds on Futbol side. So we had originally not planned for it, because frankly, it was very early in the morning in Latin America, and we felt probably nobody's going to watch it. I mean, people are they're going to be, just waking up on a Friday. Actually, it was not even Saturday. And then he's like, people, they're asking us, they're playing us to do the live feed. So it really is one of those things where you realize the power of social media, the power of being able to amplify, to connect with the audience in the right way, and in being flexible. I mean, we as a brand, we had to take decisions on the fly, and we're like, let's go, do it. I mean, we're out live. So that was the beauty of it, and you see how it continues to grow and how we're continuing to plan for it in the future.
And these kids play well. I mean, it's not just like they're putting together a bunch of age group kids and let's form a team and let's get through a couple of rounds and win a couple of games and have a trip. No, they're really good players. I mean, Jill, you guys have already over 2 years learned of the next steps that are available from the experience. I mean, kids stick around playing sports. It's soccer, the most popular sport in the world, and it's not news that kids want to become professional in the end, but there's already kids that are taking the necessary steps to make it far.
That's right. Well, first of all, we had to work a lot with local allies, right? When we think about who we're trying to connect with, back to what Debra was saying, we have our local allies internally, but then we realize we're not just alone, on our own. Besides this amazing team of people that we work with, we also had to tap into, how these kids connect, right? And you talked a little bit about it with these kids play their heart and their mind to it, and the best way we can bring it to life for them is, working with, the big teams out there that we're partners with. So we work with an Arsenal, a Barcelona, obviously UEFA Champions League, and then also with even the small guys actually out there that have the little canchitas and the little, football schools in the different countries. They're all rallying up for them, and we're working with them almost hand in hand in a way that we have to orchestrate everything, all these little partners that comes through to life. And certainly that makes it unique, because if you're trying to do this all by yourself, and I guess, we've got to be humble. I mean, as Gatorade, we do have the ownership of and the brand presence and the credibility, but the reality is that we can't do everything all by ourselves. And having that partnership and being able to expand that and to motivate people behind an idea like this one had made this a big success. So that had led to a lot of those great experiences that we've had.
So it's not only just this dream team that you guys have put together that makes this happen. There's also a lot of small players out there that allow for this 5v5 to become already a tournament to look forward to. I mean, because of my work travel all over Latin America, and I got to tell you, there's so many kids you run into that you don't expect them to bring about the tournament as part of their daily or their yearly calendar. You know, they have their, high school tournaments, and you talk to them and they go, oh yeah, but I'm also playing on the 5v5,
That's right.
And there's also these kids that might become somebody someday, right?
That's right. So if anything, I think there's been a lot of legacy coming out of this. It's a long-term impact that we're making on the youth. And I think we talked a little bit about this morning. Those that heard Gaby Castellanos talking earlier today, she said something that was true. It's, what's meaningful for those individuals, right? And these kids, as I said, they play their life to this. I mean, they've never traveled before. They're now going to this world-class experience or being able to see the UEFA Champions League finals, but that doesn't end there. I mean, the interesting thing about all of this is that we've had tremendous success stories of the kids that have participated. We had kids from Honduras, 2 kids from the first edition are now qualified for the under-17 team of Honduras. We had one kid from Argentina who actually played this year. He's on the under-15 team of the AFA now, of the Argentina Football Association. And then we have, from Guatemala, from Brazil, from Peru, Uruguay, we have now kids that have been scouted and have been looked into and are playing with the minor divisions of some of the professional club teams in their markets. And even with our big partners like Arsenal, so they've come to us asking us for the video reels of the tournament out there, because we had referees and we had trainers out there helping us, and they were seeing the quality of the kids that were playing there that probably have never been discovered before, have they not had the experience and the exposure with this event. So certainly there's a lot to be done there, and it doesn't end there, but we incorporated a social part of this because, as I said, it's about what we're doing for the sport. It's about what we're doing as a brand. We work with several NGOs in different countries in which we established, and we went and helped some of these underserved communities that are using sport and especially football in our countries to be able to get to stay out of any troublesome or so. And we're trying to
power of sports.
Foster them. So now we've had NGOs also routing for this and working with us to make this a much bigger event, giving the awareness that we need to help those underserved communities.
Jason?
No, I was just going to say that all these stories, talking about the success stories, talking about how the whole, program evolves, gives you the opportunity to generate more content, right? At the end, it's what's key. So, we're looking at something that, I could see us next year talking about those success stories as part of our program as well. And that's where it just never ends. And because you are starting, with dealing with younger kids, how they evolve and how we as a brand connect with them is an ongoing relationship.
So 3,000 teams, you heard of kids playing the game, but behind the kids there's coaches, and behind the kids there's also families, parents that are rooting for them. I'm telling you, when we spoke at the beginning of this whole thing, how a brand can make it through different age groups and impact in different age groups and also in different regions at the same time. You've heard it throughout this panel discussion here. There's something else, right, Jill?
Yeah, we have a little surprise video.
That's why I didn't say there was a video, because it was a surprise video, but there's something else, yeah.
De que así como empezaron, así terminen, le echen ganas y mi Diosito les va a ayudar para que ustedes sean unos superhéroes, hijos.
Yo sé que cada uno de ustedes va a poner el 100% en esa cancha. Cada uno de ustedes tiene que mostrar la capacidad que tienen.
Que vas a luchar por el nombre de tu país y de tu equipo y que en este grandioso torneo llamado Copa Gatorade 5x5 lo vas a dar todo.
ustedes son perseverantes, déjenlo todo en la cancha. Estamos muy orgullosos de todos ustedes. Esperamos que salgan a defender al país como siempre se lo han soñado.
Y desde aquí, desde Guatemala, vamos a estar pendientes de ustedes, del equipo, que les vaya súper bien, les deseamos lo mejor.
Un esfuerzo más, vos podés, cortita y al pie puede, a salir campeones, Uruguay nomás.
Tú échale muchas ganas y que desde el cielo tú sabes que tu papá te cuida y te vamos a esperar aquí a parar muchos goles para que se traigan ese trofeo.
Demostrar lo que vos sabés y traer una copa más, vos y tus compañeros. Vamos Argentina, vamos Peque, un beso pa.
Échenle ganas de equipo, échenle ganas con todo, traigan un buen trofeo de allá, por favor.
Den todo lo mejor por ustedes. El grupo Los Chocolatosos serán y siempre serán los mejores de Ecuador.
Recuerda cuando pequeño jugábamos fútbol al frente de la casa, soñando viajar representando nuestro país.
Arranca la etapa final del torneo. Un momento único para disfrutar. Un momento que recordarán toda la vida. Por ustedes, por sus amigos, por sus familias, por todos los que los están apoyando a miles de kilómetros de distancia. Pongan su corazón. No escatimen esfuerzo. Cuiden a sus compañeros. Jueguen con lealtad. Dejen todo en el campo. Y cumplirán su sueño.
There you have it. I picked out a Giancarlo Stanton shirt if you want to wipe up the tears here. I don't know, it was that emotional.
Yeah.
You told me, but I didn't expect it to be this way.
That's how you realize you change and you fuel the minds and the dreams of many of these kids. So we as Gatorade really are for the sport. We really want to change the way people think about the brand. It's not just about fueling their bodies, but it's really about fueling their minds as well. And all of that comes together in how we connect with them in a relevant way.
Leccia, the coach of this marvelous team that makes it all happen, the 5v5 team. Thank you, guys.